It's Bear O'Clock and this is the Bear O'Clock Show. My name is Mark and joining me tonight, fresh from trekking the mountainous regions of North London, is my beer mentor and oyster lover, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Good evening, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Just recovered from last week's North London adventure now.
Oh, that hill. Fucking hell. Never mind. We've got a very interesting show and a very interesting beer for you tonight. We're going to be joined in a little while by Andy and Geremia from Beers from Italy. And we've got the final Italian beer for this season. It's a 6.8% beer called Nora from the Baladin brewery. It's an Egyptian-style ale, and I've got no idea what that even means. But we're going to get to that in just a little while. Stephen.
Mark.
What have you been drinking lately, mate?
Well, it's been an interesting week beer-wise. There was an evening of dark beers, which I know we're going to talk about shortly. In addition to that, there's been the standard amount of halcyon in my beery diet. And then at the weekend, I went along to the Rule of Thirds launch up at Beavertown, which is the Siren, Beavertown and Magic Rock collab, which I have to say, I'm not going to use the word disappointed, but I am going to reiterate what I wrote on my Untapped check-in, which was you have to question if sometimes the whole is as good as the sum of its parts, by which there was something about it that I just didn't click with me. You could certainly taste the three beers in there. Each beer's profile came through because this was a blend of Siren Soundwave, Gamma Ray, Beavertown Gamma Ray, and Magic Rock Cannonball. Now, for me, I got a little bit of Cannonball in there, but I'm a Cannonball freak. But there were people that are Gamma freaks and they could taste the Gamma and so on and so on. So I wasn't blown away by it. I have got some bottles incoming, and I do want to try it from the bottle before I make a final judgment on it. But needless to say, while I was there, I did have the obligatory Cannonball moment as well. Much to the disappointment of Chris and Emma, who were there, who were saying, Steve, there are so many other beers you could be trying. And I was like, yeah, but this could be my last ever Cannonball. You never know. So
you never know.
Every moment. What about you, mate? What have you been enjoying supping this week?
Well, apart from the beers that we had when we went out on, what was it, Wednesday night?
Yes, it was Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yep.
So, well, we had a couple before we turned up at the event that we're going to talk about in a little bit, which was... You had them as well, so I'm going to talk them anyway. I'm going to claim them as my own. Which was the Surfing Monk from Summer Wine, Liquid Mistress from Siren, mostly Simcoe from Firebrand, which was mostly disappointing. And
yeah, got to agree with you on that one.
And the Pale Ale Citra Mosaic. Only 2 hops in this beer from Colonel, which makes a change.
Nice easy one to find on Untapped, that was.
Yeah. And they were all okay, but I had a really nice beer last night, which I know you've had, which is from Adnams, which is their Wild Hop Amber. I think you spoke about it last week.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I really liked it. It's not a standout beer, but what I like... I summed this up really well in my brain last night.
It's no good in there, mate, is it? Our listeners can't hear that.
Which was that it's a relatively uninteresting beer, but that's kind of its character, because it doesn't let any particular ingredient overwhelm things, I found. I mean, I only gave it 3 stars on Untapped. If you like amber beers, there's plenty of better ones out there. I found it quite interesting, considering they claim that, had a shitload of hops, different variety of hops, some wild, some cultured. But anyway.
And obviously they had no idea what hops had gone into it, because hops that grow wild, you've got no idea what variety they are.
Yeah, and there could be cross varieties and all kinds of things, and you never know. So
I just remembered as well that after Beavertown on Saturday, I went over to the London Brewers Market, which was in Spitalfields, Old Spitalfields at Liverpool Street.
Oh yeah.
just have a quick look around. And I caught up with some guys that have been on the show before. So I caught up with Andrew Reeve from Honest Brew. It was nice to see Andrew again and have a chat to him about the beers that they're brewing and how they're expanding slowly as well. And also caught up with James Yeomans from Hop Stuff Brewery, who we've featured a couple of times, and things are going nuts for him down in Woolwich at the moment. They've just installed a new FV, and they're brewing more and more beer to try and keep up with the demand for their beers. So it's really good to see him coming along, and we've kind of tracked his journey a little bit from moving out of a lifestyle in the city to crowdsourcing his own brewery. And I spoke to him about maybe coming back on the show again next year. So hopefully we'll have James back on again next year, and he can talk to us about how Hop Stuff have grown. But for me, the real highlight of the London Brewers Market was I got to see the Camden Town Crowler in action. Now, this is their new machine, where basically you get a fuck off can. It's like 0.9 litres, this can, so it's one of those huge cans. You get to fill it with whatever Camden beer of your choosing, and then they seal it right there in front of you, and you're left with this massive can. So of course I did the obligatory, give me a crowler full of IHL please, and it was good value as well. It was £6 for just under
That's
a
not
litre
bad.
of IHL. Considering it's £2 a can for 330 mils, I think you're just about breaking even there. But no, I mean seriously, the Crowler, brilliant. Camden Town, hats off for that one. And the IHL is still tasting great as well. So keep your eye out for both of those.
Right, we've got a little bit of Christmas news to get through. A little bit of Christmas chatter.
Yeah, seeing as we're now into December, the countdown's on, and we're in full Christmas mode now. We've only got a few shows left until we finish the season, so now's a good time to talk about what we're going to be doing. I think.
So let's have a chat about the Crimbo Crawl first, because that's coming up in a week and a bit.
It is.
Or in a week when people listen to this.
Yep, Crimbo Crawl, Saturday 13th of December, starting at 1 o'clock. We are going basically from one part of London to another, taking in 4 bars along our route. So we're going to be starting 1 o'clock at the Hop and Beery in Islington, which features exclusively only London beers. And as Pete was telling us on last week's show, also has the nice little touch of on their board, tells you how far away from the bar the beer was actually brewed as well. So looking forward to starting off there. From there, we're going to take a wander down to Brewhouse and Kitchen in Islington, which is a microbrewery in the bar there, where we're going to meet with Pete Hughes, who's the head brewer at Brewhouse and Kitchen. He's also the chairman of the London Amateur Brewers Alliance, and he's going to talk to anybody that wants to chat to him about the brewing process and the beers that they're brewing there. We're then going from there to the Euston Tap, because it seemed like the obvious thing to do, really, to pay a visit to what's widely renowned as being one of the first craft beer bars in London. And then from there, we'll be going to the biggest craft beer in London. We're finishing the Crimbo Crawl at Brewdog Shepherd's Bush, and they're 40 taps of booze. And for those of us that make it from the start to the finish, there may be a little surprise on offer at Brewdog as well, and I shall say no more until the day. But Brewdog looking after us again. They've sorted us out of a little area so that we can stay together and we can continue the drinking and chatting. So come along, join us at the beginning, join us in the middle, join us at the end. Just tweet us and let us know where you're going to be. Just use the hashtag Crimbo Crawl, and we'll be able to find where you are.
Hurrah! And the other little Christmassy thing?
Did this last year. The 12 Beers of Christmas, starting on Saturday the 20th of December, running through until the 31st of December. Choose a beer, drink a beer every day, chat about the beer. I'll be doing a daily blog where you can comment on what beers you've been drinking. Share your pictures on Instagram using Cheers Guys and the 12 Beers of Xmas. And I think what we're probably going to do because we've got a nice following on Instagram now, and the competition's always quite interesting over there. But I think we're going to do a daily this prize, mate, on the 12 beers of Christmas. So there'll be a daily this prize announcement as well on Instagram for those of you that are really into your craft wankery.
And it can lead up to the grand prizeless prize at the end.
Yes, the grand final prizeless prize of the year.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. I might actually take part because I've got shitloads of beer that I need to get through, really, and I should make an effort.
Yeah, I'll be announcing my 12 beers next week at some point. I think I'm probably going to do it next Thursday, which will be the 11th, and that's about it's 2 weeks before Christmas. So there'll be a grand unveiling of my 12 beers, what they are, and what order I'm going to drink them in on Twitter and on the website. So keep an eye out for that. And the hashtag is 12 beers of Xmas. Not 12 beers of Christmas, 12 beers of Xmas.
We mentioned this a little bit earlier, Steve, which was our little outing in North London last week, which was for Matt Curtis's beer and food matching event. He's done one before, but last week's one was for darker beers, and it was called Darker Days. It was at a pub whose name I cannot recall.
Duke's in Highgate.
Duke's in Highgate. Lovely little pub, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's got real character to it.
It's a proper shit to get to if you don't live in North London, though.
Oh yeah, not just on the tube, but then it would appear there's no way to get to this pub that isn't uphill.
Yeah, you need a Sherpa to kind of carry your shit up the hill for you, really.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's a hell of a trek.
According to our mate Justin Mason, it's downhill from Archway Station. Bullshit, Justin.
Yeah.
Bullshit, mate. It's bloody uphill. But it was a really great night.
It was a little bit downhill, but there was some stairs and then there was some uphill. Yeah.
So it was a really great night. There's a load of people there. We had 2 tables worth of people, some of whom we knew, some of whom we didn't. The food was great. The beers were great. Steve, do you want to go into a little more detail than that, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely. There were basically 4 courses that had been paired with 4 beers, and the courses were designed to not only show off what the pub could offer in terms of their food, but also in terms of what other local producers were offering in terms of food. So the first course was oysters, which was paired with Hamerton Brewery's Oyster Stout, which I believe both you and I declined the oysters, but we enjoyed the stout.
And I have to apologise, because when Matt asked, hands up who didn't have the oyster, you put your hand up, but I didn't put mine up.
Yeah, you properly stitched me at that point.
So I put you in the shit for that.
Hey-ho. Yeah. So, and then moved on to what was, I suppose, what you could call the main course, which was beef brisket slider. The beef had been rubbed in coffee and then shredded, and that was paired with Beavertown's 8-Ball Black Betty,
wasn't it?
Black Betty, Black
and
IPA.
The beef had been marinated in the Black Betty as well, hadn't it?
Yes, yeah. So the 2 dishes just complemented one another.
Yeah.
That then moved on to kind of dessert, which was for me, and I know I think for you, mate, and I think for a lot of the people sat at our table, was the pairing of the evening, which was Siren's Shattered Dream, which is a big imperial stout, thick, velvety, luxurious imperial stout, and that was paired with a chocolate brownie that had been baked using Siren's Shattered Dream imperial stout. And the brownie was all gooey and chocolatey, and it just worked absolutely perfectly with the stout. I don't know, mate, what were your thoughts on that?
I think I told Matt on the way out that it's like they were getting to know each other biblically inside my mouth.
Great description.
They were having relations, and just like you say, the pairing was just I mean, either on their own were great, but take a bite of that brownie and then a swig of the beer, while you've still got a mouth lined with chocolate. And bugger me, that was epic.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been quite happy for the evening to have finished at that point, but there was one more course. There was a cheese course, which was just a selection of cheeses from a local cheese producer, and that was paired with the Rochefort 10, which is a Belgian strong dark ale, which for me, I can take or leave Belgian ales. For me, the winning combination of the evening was the Siren, Shattered Dream, and the chocolate brownie. That was an absolute winner.
Yeah, there were 3 types of cheese with the Belgian. There was a brie, there was something else, and there was one of those lumpy, stinky cheeses. And the Rochefort went better with the lumpy, stinky one, I think, because they're both really strong on the palate. They kind of battled each other a little bit.
Yeah.
But like you say, the evening could have stopped at the brownie and stout. It was just a great night.
Yeah, it was a very good evening, and obviously all of those pairings were moved along by a running commentary from Matt Curtis, who was telling us about how he's got into beer, his experiences with beer, his experiences with those beers, the background of the beers, the background of the breweries. He was lucky enough to have Lee Hamilton there as well, who's the guy that owns Hamilton Brewery, who spoke about the Oyster Stout. And Matt's enthusiasm and his knowledge really came throughout the evening, and he really engaged the crowd, and he was quite willing to answer questions and get involved in discussing the beers as well. So hats off to Matt for the evening. It was a very well presented, a very well put together evening.
Indeed, and hopefully he's going to do another one, and if he does, we'll definitely be mentioning it on this show.
Yeah, he does have plans to do more in 2015. We will do our best to mention it. The tickets, this is the second one he's done, second time it's sold out. The tickets for his events are going quickly. So, we'll obviously, we'll mention it. But I would recommend, if you can, as soon as you see Matt starting to advertise these events on Twitter, because that's predominantly where he'll advertise them first, at Total Curtis, just get in and get one of the tickets, because you're not only paying for some fantastic beer and food, but you are also paying for Matt's knowledge as well, and that's the thing for me that really glued the 4 courses together.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. Right, on to this week's featured beer. Before we get to the news, that is, we have Andy and Geremia from Beers from Italy joining us yet again. Gentlemen, welcome to the Beer O'Clock Show.
Hello, thank you.
It's good to have you back. So the reason why we're introducing you early and mentioning the beer early is because this is number one, it's a huge bloody bottle. And second of all, it's also got a cork in it, which Steve and I are expecting us both to struggle with somewhat. We've taken the wax off early because we didn't want to have to listen. People have to listen to that. So we're going to try and decork it while we talk about the news.
Quite a long study about the cork and the wax itself, because Moose, the owner and the brewer of Baladin, wasn't happy enough about the corks and kind of waxing machines that it wasn't available on commerce. So he studied about the cork that is small, so it's not like a champagne cork with a cage, but still holds the pressure of the beer. And he actually designed the machines that does the waxing on the top of the neck of the bottle, because the one that he bought that he used to have before was too slow. And so then he sold his patent. There's a company now selling the machine that he designed for his own beer.
Ah.
Wow. So this beer has not only been crafted by his own hand, also he's been involved in the entire packaging of it as well to make sure it's exactly to his specifications.
Designed the bottle with his logo engraved on the glass, and tried and tested a lot this cork in order to have the right carbonation, but like something that holds the pressure properly, and the waxing on top of it.
Well, I got a nice fizz off of mine when I got the cork out. I think Mark's still struggling to get his call out by the looks of things.
It's almost there.
At the moment.
I'm almost got it. Bloody hell! Come on, there we go.
Are you there?
Oi!
Hey!
Oh, that feels fantastic to have got that out.
Good noise as well.
Yeah.
And of course, the wax is on there not just for decoration. It's on there to help keep all of the good stuff in, so the carbonation and all of the flavors and the aromas, and not let any air get through any of the tiniest gaps around the top there, isn't it?
It's a quality seal, and then you even stop getting maybe the cork moldy and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and the cork has even got his logo on it.
Yeah.
What a clever chap. Well, Steve, shall we just get this poured a little bit?
Yep, I've just got the first glass full.
So, Steve, let's get into the news, mate. Here's your pips. Beep, 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 beep. News.
Okay, so first up this week, we mentioned this briefly last week, but more details will emerge this week. The London Beer Week, 16th to the 22nd of February, has now officially launched. So it's going to take place at various venues, including the Draft House, Craft Beer Co., Well and Bucket, Exmouth Arms, Ask for Janice, Jerusalem Tavern, Hack and Hop, and Hops and Glory. We were discussing last week about the wristband, and you buy a wristband for £10, but we didn't really know what that gets you. So basically what that does is it gets you the opportunity to purchase specialty beers at £3 a pop. So I'm guessing the wristband gives you a discount on beer. That's not entry to anything, just a discount on beer. Or £5 Boilermakers, which are beer and a shot. And you can get those all week long. Anyway, for more information, you can follow them on Twitter at LDN Beer Week, or visit the website, which is a little bit more informative now, at londonbeerweek.com. Some brewery news. The award-winning West Berkshire Brewery has unveiled a new modern brand image and bottle design for 2015, in which they'll be supplying their British bitters, pale ales and stouts, including the classic bitter, Good Old Boy, and Dr. Hexter's Healer. More information about this is from their website, wbbrew.com, and this is all about the West Yorkshire Brewery, who have been around since 1995, and now they're just basically rebranding to just make things a little bit more modern. So that's wbbrew.com. Some beer news. Hawkshead have released their latest oak-aged beers. They released their first two last year. This year they've released number 3 Imperial Damson Porter at 9.5% and number 4 Brody's Prime Export at 8.5%. More details available from the Hawkshead website. More brewery news. Weirdbeard, who we've had on the show a few times in the past, they are opening their doors for their first actual public open days. So these will be on the 12th and the 14th of December. More details about that are on Weirdbeard's Facebook page. I know we don't do Facebook, but there are lots of people that do, so check out facebook.com, search for Weirdbeard for more information on their open days. Pub tour news. A few times we've mentioned the Dragon Flagon tours that Vic Norman runs. Vic is in a position where he's actually struggling with demand now, and he's asked us if we could just put out a request to see if there's anybody that lives in or around the London area that would be interested in running tours for him. So they'd have to go out with Vic, learn the routes, learn the history, and then they would be able to run the tours with Vic. If you are interested in that, can you tweet us initially, and then we'll put you in touch with Vic, and you can take it from there. And finally, on this week's news, and it wouldn't be the news without some Brewdog news, would it? And I've saved this till the end for a reason. because it ties in nicely with our theme, and I'm quite keen to get our guests' views on this tonight as well. So Brewdog have just opened up a new bar in Bologna, which will provide a centre point for craft beer in the city. It's located in an atmospheric old dance school in one of the city's most vibrant districts. Got capacity for over 100 people, and will feature 16 beers on tap from renowned breweries spread all over the world. They're hoping that the bar will become a hotbed for the burgeoning craft beer revolution in Italy, and providing regular Meet the Brewer events to give their customers with some time with the most creative brewers that the world has to offer. Now, I'm keen to hear what Andy thinks of Brewdog opening a bar up in Italy. I suppose that the question is, Andy, does the Italian craft beer scene need Brewdog?
I was hoping you would ask Geremia this question, but
nothing like being put on the spot there, is there?
Well, I mean, I haven't, because I've been living in the UK for 9 years now, so I kind of have lost touch a bit. But I'd say that this effort from Brewdog is certainly going to have an impact. Whether for good or bad is a bit soon to tell, but I do hope that they will source as many Italian beers as possible, as well as, of course, offering their own beers. Yes, but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Even for me, it's an awesome thing to have Brewdog as well opening and starting to run a good pub in Italy. In Italy, we spoke about that before. We had an explosion of beer producers, but so far we haven't established a proper craft beer drinking culture. So having more and more good places to go to get good beers is always a good thing. To expand this idea of craft beer, this craft beer revolution, and for sure Brewdog is one of the most revolutionary breweries, and I think it's a good.
I mean, don't get me wrong here. I wasn't obviously looking to shoot holes in what they're doing, because personally, I think Brewdog do what they do very well. If you look at the bars that we've certainly got in London, you're going to get your core offering of Brewdog beers, but then you know that their guest board is going to feature beers from the local breweries to that particular bar, and some of the best beers that are available in England as well. And when they do run the Meet the Brewer events and the tap takeovers, they're always very well received, and they do it very, very well. I guess we're approaching a point now where there's 700 plus odd breweries in Italy and growing.
Yeah, counting the brew fields as well. Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I guess the thing is, let's just hope that they do look to source beer from a number of those breweries and actually feature them in the bar as well.
Yeah, they probably will. And Brewdog is one other part of this growing craft beer revolution in Italy. One of the pioneers of this has been again Teo Musso of Baladin, because he opened Baladin. He first started his own business with a Belgian beer dedicated bar in the 80s, and he's got a massive pub in Rome. He's got a recent pub that he opened a couple of years ago in Milan. So he is as well bringing good bars to big Italian towns, and not just his beer, other good beers. And so I think that in general having more places to drink is better.
I think it doesn't make sense for Brewdog to ignore that either, do they?
No.
Does it? Because it's widely renowned that there are sort of certain founding fathers of the Italian craft beer scene, and Teo Musso is one of those, and it would make sense, and I would imagine at some point you could probably put money on there being a Brewdog and Baladin collaboration. That they'll feature in their bars. So let's hope it's a good thing.
Might happen. Brewdog did already have a collaboration with Birra del Borgo, so who knows?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Antonian Kilt. How was it?
No, it was
Real in Kilt.
yes, Real in Kilt, yes.
Can I just say that it's no coincidence that Brewdog have done this after Steve and I have spent the last 3 months talking about Italian beers? It's quite obvious where the inspiration lies.
I think we've said that
so,
before,
yeah.
mate, haven't we? You can look back over the entire history of the Beer O'Clock show and see how we've been at the forefront of the craft revolution every time. We innovate and we lead, mate. That's what we do, and others can only follow. Others can only follow and imitate in our wake.
Exactly. So if any other countries want to get Brewdog in their country, just let us know and send us some beer.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we do a whole season of that beer in the run up to it.
Yeah. Anyway, talking about beer, we are drinking a beer. It is Nora from Baladin. It is an Egyptian ale. I've had a bit of a sip. I had a sneaky sip. It's a bit sour. It's quite nice. 6.8% ABV. It's got an interesting. I only had a sip, so I can't really say much more than that at the moment. Our chums from Beers from Italy. What can you tell us about Nora?
Yeah, so Nora is an Egyptian-inspired beer, and it's made with a couple of spices, different spices, myrrh and ginger. And the malt bill includes kamut, which is like, again, an ancient grain. It's like a recreation of a grain that used to be cultivated around Egypt centuries, thousands of years ago. And this gives like a kind of spiciness similar to beers made with spelt or rye.
And how popular is this amongst the Baladin range?
This is one of the core range beers from Baladin. You can get them straight away, which are the core range beers, because are the ones corked with this like fancy cork and wax sealing, because all the other beers have got a different capping system. So like, and as well like label and wax color are all matching. They did a big study on labels as well, mainly because what Teomus and Baladin did when they first started, because they were one of the very first breweries in Italy, was to try to sell this beer. And since like Italy was a virgin market, they had to sell this beer to restaurants and wineries or like wine shops. So they had to present this beer sort of looking like a wine. That's why we have this big bottle and this like refined label and branding in general.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time you were on. Really interesting that they basically wanted to have a beer bottle design that looks like it can place in the middle of the dinner table for an Italian family.
And especially the Baladin beers are all like really smooth and quite balanced, so they're all meant to be paired with food, and so that's why usually you don't get really sharp or really bitter, really pungent beers from the Baladin range, because all of them sort of should pair nicely with some food without being too overpowering.
Yeah. How are you finding this one, Steve?
I'm pleasantly surprised, actually. I was I mentioned to you before we started recording that I was a little bit scared about tonight's beer, because it was a style that I'd never come across before. Obviously, I've had beers that have been sealed in wax, and removing the wax and finding the cork in there threw me a little bit as well, because I've never come across a beer bottle with cork in it. So I was like, oh, right, okay, so what are we in for here? But when I got the cork out, first whiff of the aroma from the bottle, it was a little bit vinegary, and I was like, oh, maybe that's not right. But that soon cleared once the beer was in the glass. The aroma in the glass came across, as you say, almost sour-like, but now it's beginning to warm. It's almost it's got an aroma that's very, very similar to a lager, kind of pilsner aroma. Yeah. And then you get in and you take a sip, and what you're greeted with is this absolute explosion of flavours that come through. So you're getting the crispness that you would get from a lager initially, and then that gives way, and you get a little bit of spice in there that starts tickling around the tongue, tickling the back of the throat, gives way to a lovely soft bitter finish. There's just all sorts of flavours going on in there, but it's actually a really, really enjoyable beer. And I was taking a big sip as Geremia was saying there, that the beers are all designed to be paired with food. So and I could almost see that as I was taking the sip, that this is a beer that you would want to sit down with and enjoy over the course of a meal, rather than just drink for the sake of having a beer.
Yeah, you get that really nice kind of sweet bitter bite from the ginger that's in there.
Yeah, this is a sweet beer. It's not really hoppy. The IBUs are really low as well. So.
But that ginger kind of cuts through that kind of lagerish pilsner taste, and when I first tasted it, I thought, oh, this is quite saison-y, but I think I was kind of thrown by the ginger and the pilsner-esque side of it.
Yeah. And that's one of the other main characteristics about Baladin, because from years ago he studied on his own yeast strains, mostly derived by Belgian yeast, since he's doing mostly Belgian inspired beers. But this again is a research that he's making on his product and on his own ingredients, as we saw with Nazionale, which is 100% Italian beer. He's cultivating and growing his own ingredients, so barley and hops as well.
And that was again a beer that really stood out for me in terms of these beers that we've been trying, that you guys have given us. The Nazionale was just incredible. The flavours that were coming through in it, and again that was a big bottle that we got through that evening. But you can really see you can see how these bottles are designed to be presented. As you say, they've been designed to look like wine bottles, and I would quite happily have a table full of friends around and serve this as a drink to accompany a meal.
Geremia, what meal would you add? What dish would you suggest?
What
goes with?
That's a good question, actually. It's being this quite malty base and a bit spicy sweet. It can go, I think, quite well with poultry, white meats, probably. It can be the beer, it can be the seasoning, so you can have a pretty plain chicken, but then the beer sort of spiciness can make it a more Indian tasting. I don't know, it's just an idea. Or some light main course in general.
I was thinking it's quite. It seems like quite a summery type ale, so having it with some seafood or something.
Might be as well.
Or a steak, or a pie, or anything.
Or a burger.
Or a burger.
If all else fails, just burger.
This would actually be quite nice with a burger.
What beer wouldn't be nice with a burger, mate?
Yeah.
I know. So, Geremia, while we've got you, what's next for beers from Italy, mate?
The very next appointment is gonna be over this weekend. We are gonna bring some beers to the Pig's Ear Festival in Hackney. Starting from this week, from the 2nd over all the weekend of this first week of December, and we are bringing there a couple of new beers, a couple of beers from a small brewery from the north side of Italy, almost in the border between Italy and Austria. It's called Batzen, and they do German-inspired beers. And we have a really, really nice barley wine, which is called Dieci from Bruton, which is from Tuscany as well.
And are all those coming over in bottles, or are they kegs of those beers?
No, we are bringing bottles to the festival. We are trying to import some kegs and try to sell some kegs probably from the beginning of next year. So hopefully you're gonna find some really good and new Italian beers on draft in some London bars soon.
Excellent.
Cool.
And I know it's early days, and obviously, you know, all joking aside earlier on about how we lead the craft beer revolution. But have you seen is interest picking up in the Italian beer scene?
Yeah, I mean, it is, and then you're leading even this craft beer market, even customer-wise, not just producer-wise. So like here, the customers are much. There's a lot of beer geeks that just wants to try the new beer, the exotic beer, the beer that has never been on draft before in London, in England. So there's an high interest on what is new in general, and Italy, the Italian scene is totally new. So.
And where does the Italian scene go next, do you think? We said earlier, you know, there's over 700 breweries now. You've got a BrewDog landing in Italy now. What's next? What's that next big step for Italian craft beer, do you think?
I think like the big breweries, the most successful ones, are gonna expand, both in quantity of like production and in range. I know for sure like Birra del Borgo, for example, wants to expand its production and use the old brew house to make sour beers, totally separated from the rest of the production, so in the old building. And still we are speaking about relatively small numbers. So for sure Baladin is expanding as well. They are always like experimenting, implementing. They want to open soon small malting factory in-house, so they can mold their own barleys, specialty grains for their brews. And yeah, for sure, like the big ones are gonna get bigger. I'm really curious to see how it's gonna go with the smaller and newest breweries. Some of them are gonna get successful, some other are gonna stay and remain local, which might be interesting if they achieve to build some local pubs and a local beer drinking culture as well in Italy, which we don't have at the moment.
And do you think there'll be more collaborations on the horizon as well? Because already we've seen stuff from certainly this year. I've seen collaborations with Tokomato and Brewfist have done stuff with Demolen. And Tokomato also did the collaboration with Indie Man as well for the Indie Man Festival.
Yeah, they made a collaboration with Wild Beer as well.
Yeah, for the Rainbow Series. Do you think? Do you think more of that is will that be good for the Italian craft beer scene? Seeing them doing more collaborations.
Yeah, that's doing a collaboration brew is a really, really good way to get known outside of your country, because like you reach all the customers of the other brewery you make the beer with. So like doing that is like a massive like expansion and just publicity, like getting your name known like worldwide. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, again, you could just take the BrewDog model there, couldn't you? BrewDog do a collaboration with somebody, and all the BrewDog geeks, all the equity punks, everybody that's a fan of BrewDog will buy that beer because that's what they want to see. So you know, if you've got more breweries that are looking to expand, looking to do new stuff, I mean, I would love to see that there are some breweries in the UK that I would love to see do some stuff with Baladin in terms of the way that they use the ingredients in their beers here. I mean, could you imagine someone like Wild Beer doing a collaboration with Baladin? That would be just amazing. Those two breweries coming together.
Yeah. Even because being all new and small, like all the Italian craft breweries are all driven by the passion and the knowledge of the brewmaster, of the founder, which still like has got a really heavy footprint and a strong idea on the products and on what it does. So doing a collaboration with some other really good brewer that has got his own way to make a beer and see what can happen putting these two minds together would be really fascinating.
Indeed. Steve, how are you going with the beer, buddy?
I'm really enjoying it, mate. I've since refilled my glass, and I'm currently working my way through a second glass. It's just turning into a really enjoyable, easy drinking, and that's the key to this one. This is a real easy drinker, and again, that's worrying. It's 6.8%. It's a 750 ml bottle. You're gonna feel it after this bottle.
It's meant to be shared amongst a group of adults while they're eating food, not a bottle each while we're talking on the internet.
That's true. That's true. But until the day that we record live in a studio, mate, we're gonna have to just take it to the team. I think.
To be honest,
a lot of sweet.
No, they have this beer often on draft on a really good pub where I go when I'm in Italy, because it's pretty close to where my family lives, and they always have this one on draft. And it's so easy to drink a pint of it, even with no food.
This is very easy to drink. Maybe a little bit too easy for a Monday evening. Obviously, when we record, it's Monday night. It helps ease us into the week.
But yet again, it's easy but quite tasty. It's not like watery. It's not easy because it's watery.
No, what I love about it is when you bring the glass up to your mouth and you're getting that everlasting aroma coming off the head, which kind of fills your head with this cloud of aroma, and then you drink it. And you're getting a completely different taste, but then that aroma kind of comes back on the palate as well. Lovely.
There is a thickness to it as well. It's not as you know what I say when you say you get some beers that are a little bit watery and they're a little bit thin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is quite a thick beer. It's a little bit syrupy, but that just adds to what it's offering, because as I'm getting to the bottom of the glass now, it's been in the glass for a while, it's beginning to warm. I'm getting some real sweet flavours that are coming off of it now as well. So I'm getting maybe a little bit of orange barley in there, just coming off at the end.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of syrup, maybe a little bit of marmalade in there as well, and that's just finishing it off. It's giving it this real nice finish, but it still leads with a crispness that you'd expect from a lager.
Indeed, yeah. So you got that lager crispness.
Oh dear.
The sweetness and spice on the palate, and it's left with a nice, slightly bitter, malty aftertaste for me. And that aroma is just filling my head with, sour Belgianiness. But in a really refined, light way. It's not overpowering.
Yeah, and it helps to clean a bit the sweetness of the beer. Is that like as opposite as the hops that you get on other beers that cleans a bit your palate? And
yeah, it's almost a sweet malty version of a hop bomb. It's just perfectly well balanced. I mean, it's considering I was terrified of what was going to be in this bottle at the beginning. I honestly don't know what I was expecting. I saw Egyptian ale, and I was expecting something that had been sat fermenting in a clay pot for 4,000 years and had finally found its way into a bottle. I was expecting some sort of brown, murky water, but what's come out has absolutely blown me away. Much like the My Antonia did at the beginning of the series did, much like Reale did when I tried that. Every beer that we've tried from this this selection that you've sent us to try has been an absolute cracker. And I would absolutely encourage people that if they haven't taken the plunge to get one of the discovery cases and to try all of these beers, to do it now, why they still can with the discount that you guys are offering us, because that discount isn't going to be around for much longer. And now's the time to do it. Hey, why not buy yourself one for Christmas? That's what I say. Or get your loved one to buy you one for Christmas.
It's a really good looking present as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Regular listeners will know that I'm not terribly adventurous with my beers, but get yourself a discovery case, 15% off beersfromitaly.com. Go to our website, look on the beers season 5 beer list, and at the bottom is a discount code that you can go to beersfromitaly.com, get yourself a discount or discovery box, which has all the season 5 beers from Italy, not all the other beers. That would be silly. But get a box of those Italian beers, guys, because the variety that we've had across this season, it's just been sensational. And I'm not talking it up. They've just been a joy to drink, and you can get 15% off. So
and it has been a discovery as well. It's been a real discovery of flavours for us. I mean, week after week, I say I'm a self-confessed hophead. I love hop bombs, but I've enjoyed every one of these Italian beers, maybe with the exception of the Keto Reporter. I struggled with that one a little bit. That the flavours were a bit too intense for me, but the others have all been absolutely spot on in terms of what I enjoy. And as we say, I'm not going to keep banging on about it. The guys from Beers from Italy have been fantastic. They've supplied us these beers for this season. That they gave us the glasses to drink them out of as well. So we're really grateful for that. And they've given us all of our listeners a 15% discount off of this box as well. That discount is only available until the 31st of December. After then, you're going to be paying full price on the website. So if you've been umming and ahhing all season, if you've been waiting for us to get to Nora to tell you what we think of this beer that's got a cork in it and a wax seal, well, now's the time. I'm telling you, now is the time to buy the Discovery box from Beers from Italy. Get your 15%, because after the 31st of December, it's no longer going to be there.
Yeah, honestly, if you're into artisan craft beers, you can't get more artisan craft than a bottle of beer that's got a cork in it and sealed with wax.
Yeah, maybe for like a nice Christmas dinner with, I don't know, salmon turkey on your table with some friends. No, Nora was a sort of a bet to give you Nora, to let you test Nora, because it's not a hoppy pale ale, it's something totally different, and the name is fancy. What it does remind me, and it's not Egyptian because it's made with like Egyptian ingredients or an Egyptian technique. It's more like the feeling you get is like warm, exotic, that spicy aromas you get. That's like more an Egyptian feeling rather than an Egyptian recipe,
Oh, see, now that's put it all into context. I thought it was an Egyptian recipe brewed in the Egyptian way. It shows how wrong you can be, but no, I've really enjoyed this, and I absolutely would. I would quite happily put this on the table on Christmas Day and serve it as the drink that you're going to have with your Christmas dinner, because it would work as well.
Or afterwards with a tray of crackers and smelly cheese, set this down, have a nice, post-meal chat, a really interesting beer with some really interesting cheeses and some really interesting conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, in fact, the bottle was so big, you could start it with your Christmas breakfast and still be going on the crackers at 9 o'clock in the evening if you took it carefully. You could have a glass of that with every meal on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I'm on to my third glass now. Bloody hell.
Yeah, me too. I've drained the bottle now, so...
yeah, you just lifted it. It's empty, so it's not that difficult to drink, isn't it?
It's so easy to drink. It's so easy, and it's again we come across these beers time and time again. 6.8% is not a low ABV, and we're sat here quite happily chugging our way through a 750ml bottle of it. Hey, that's how we roll.
Oh yeah. So anyway, Steve, do we have a prizeless prize as we wind the show up?
We do this week. Sad to say, I think Son of a Gun went too far in his efforts to get the hat trick. He posted a picture, which I just didn't get. I can only explain it. I'm going to repost it anyway, not as the winning prize, but because people need to see it. But there's a shelf that's got a bottle on it, and then the beer is on the wall, and the beer isn't falling out of the glass, and it's some sort of optical illusion, and it freaked me out, and because it freaked me out, I'm sorry, you don't get the hat trick. So this week's prize goes to a first-time winner as well this week. Heisenberger 1, also known as Breaking Bread. for a really nice picture of Buxton Brewery's raspberry red rye. Really stunning picture. The colours worked really well in his image, so it's well done for that. That's up on our Instagram feed. It's in the show notes if you want to link straight to it. Keep the pictures coming on Instagram. Use the hashtag Cheers Guys, and you too can win a prize. There's only 2 chances left this season to be a prize winner before we go into the 12 Beers of Xmas prizes. So
not many people have this prize on their mantle either.
There aren't that many people. It's not into double figures yet. It's a very exclusive club. So if you want to be a member of the club, get your beer porn on and get your pictures up on Instagram using the hashtag Cheers Guys.
Cool, and don't forget that you can get Season 5 Italian beers from beersfromitaly.com. 15% discount. Go to our website, click on the Season 5 beer list and scroll to the bottom, and there's your discount code, and get yourself a Teku glass while you're there as well. You don't get a discount on it, but it's the only glass to drink Italian beers in when you're a fine Italian beer drinker like myself.
Absolutely.
Andy, Geremia, we lost Andy halfway through because we had some technical difficulties.
Yeah, but he's here with me, so he can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Look.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of this, guys. And thank you very much for your support this season. And best of luck for you next year. And if you're going to Hackney this weekend, look out for the guys from Beers from Italy at the market there and get yourself a trunk full of Italian beer bottles. The Beer O'Clock Show is proud to be supported by Ales by Mail, your premier destination for bottled real ales delivered direct to your door. Visit alesbymail.co.uk and use the code BOCS10 for a 10% discount. You can find us online at beeroclockshow.co.uk. Twitter is at Beer O'Clock Show. Instagram is at Beer O'Clock Show. Untapped is at Beer O'Clock Show. Steve, I'm on Untapped at Roku, and on Twitter at Roku Beer. Stephen.
Mark.
What's coming up next week, buddy?
Next week, mate. Well, not just next week, but we've only got 2 shows left this season now, mate. So next week is the penultimate show, and it's becoming a permanent fixture of every season of the Beer O'Clock Show. It's becoming the one that I certainly look forward to, because there's a lot of beer consumed during these shows. Next week is our homebrew special for this season. So once again, we've got 3 amateur homebrewers joining us for the show. We've got Dave Harrison Ward, who you can find on Twitter at Kung Fu Ramon, has supplied us with a Black Forest Stout, which I had the version that he brewed last year, and it was stunning. Apparently this year's is even better, so I'm looking forward to that one. We'll also be joined by A.D. Goodrich, Sweet Leaf Brewer on Twitter, who has supplied us with a red rye IPA, which is supposed to be a hop monster. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then we've also got Carl Marshall, who, for those of you that watched the lock-in back in September, Carl was on with us. He's known as the Bearded One on Twitter. He sent us 2 beers. We know not which either of them are because he hasn't labelled them very well. One of them's got a question mark on, and the other one simply says free beer. So we'll see what they are next week. But we'll be trying those 4 beers and chatting to the guys about their passion for brewing next week. And then the week after, in our Season 5 finale, we're going to try something that we've not done before. We are going to broadcast live as we record the show. So normally what you get to hear on a Friday is a lovely, clean, edited version that Mark spends hours putting together.
Literally hours.
Hours putting together. On the 15th of December, if you want to, you'll be able to tune in via Google Hangouts and watch Mark and I recording the end of season special. Now, bearing in mind that Mark has, at this point, no idea what beer we're doing. What he's got is a sealed tube that he's not been allowed to open. Inside that tube is a wrapped bottle. You will see him open that live. You'll be able to interact with us on Twitter. It will all be recorded, and then it will go out on Friday as normal as the podcast. But you'll be involved in that recording. So if you want to get involved, just all you've got to do on Monday the 15th of December is just watch us online, tweet us. We'll be all over it. It'll be a little bit like the lock-in, but just with the two of us. And you'll be able to see Mark's excitement as he opens the end of season mystery beer. So 2 more shows this season. It's been a great season so far, and we're really building up to a big finish.
Or you can watch my face as I unveil a beer, which is a triple imperial IPA, 15.5% or some shit. And Steve told me I have to drink the whole fucking thing.
It's just brewed with pure hops, nothing else. It's just hops.
I'll just be chewing hops live on air. Right. I think that's it, mate. I'm going to finish my glass while you say your Cheerios. Give us your final thoughts on this beer, buddy.
But yeah, because we're still going with the beer, because it was a big bottle. Yeah, really enjoyable. It's getting a lovely sweet finish to it now. It's almost becoming like, I don't know if you've ever had a dessert wine, which are very, very sweet wines that are generally served as a dessert. It's getting a very similar taste to that now. It's just well balanced, and it's a really enjoyable beer. Sorry, excuse me. It's also a little bit gassy as well. I think that's the combination of the cork and wax. But yeah, you've got spices in there.
Yeah. If you do get one, careful how you pour the remnants out, because like a lot of these beers and like a decent craft beers, at all they have sediment in the bottom. So just be careful how you pour it. And because
I've got a little bit. Because
the bottles are quite heavy bottomed, it's easy to think you have more beer in there than you've got. So when you pour it out, it'll start getting a bit cloudy. So just pull it back. Oh yeah,
I've got to say, mate, I'm a little bit sad to see the end of the Italian beers, because I've enjoyed the 6 that we've done. They have brought new flavours and new experiences to my drinking, and I want to try more. It's made me want to go out and seek out Italian beers. And if I'm in a bar that's got 20, 25, 30, 40 taps, if I see an Italian beer on there, you know what? I'm going to go for it, because I've really enjoyed these.
And to have 700 breweries in a country which, by Andy and Geremia's own reckoning, is somewhat behind England or the UK in the craft beer scene, that means a shitload of beers to try.
Yeah.
And how Brewdog are only going to have 12 taps on in the Bologna pub. They're going to have to be there for quite a while to work through all the breweries. And I really hope they do, showcase the local beers quite a lot.
I think they will, mate. I think that goes without saying. I think they will absolutely showcase the local beers.
Yeah. And stop being influenced by us without giving us credit, Brewdog. Bloody hell. Right. That's it.
It's been the highlight of my week.
Been a highlight of my week. Thank you very much, mate. Until next time.
What? You're trying to steal my lines now as well.
I agree with you. I always agree with you, buddy. Until next week. Cheerio.
Until next week. Bye-bye.